Hello guys, it's MDT again. In this video, I'm going to be comparing the SVS 3000 Micro against the Kef KC62 compact subwoofer. So first of all, the Kef KC62. The first I heard of it was January 2021. I believe it comes in a white finish and a black finish, and it's kind of like a matte look, which is nice. In terms of the design, I think it matches the Kef LS50, in particular the Meta, very well because of the new kind of matte design. But it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to be a better sonic match for those speakers. The SVS 3000 Micro is a very similar sub to the Kef KC62, featuring a dual opposing design, very similar to that. And it's recently come out and it should be ready to buy soon. It comes in a gloss black finish and a gloss white finish as far as I'm aware. So guys, which one should you buy? Because I guess that's the reason why you're here today. And one of the things I do on this channel, I try to give people real information so you're able to make that purchase and know that you've made that purchase knowing the facts and not just people's opinions. So yeah, I do give my opinions on this channel, but I tend to focus a lot on the specifications because I think they matter a lot. And with subwoofers in particular, you can't cheat physics. You need certain specifications to have a good subwoofer. It is simple as that. First of all, let's start with the design. Both of these subwoofers, they're sealed box designs, also known as acoustic suspension designs. In terms of the dimensions, the Kef KC62 is ever so slightly smaller than the SVS 3000 Micro. We're talking less than an inch on every dimension. So the SVS 3000 Micro is between 10 and 11 inches each way, and the KC62 is about 10, 9.6, 9.7 to 10 each way. So it's very, very, very similar in size. Kef say they got their new subwoofer so small because of the uni-core patent. I guess it's their proprietary design, which basically means that they have, rather than two magnets for each driver, they have one magnet system which controls both drivers. Apparently that helps the engineers at Kef make a smaller design. Just so you know, if you are considering the KF92, which is the bigger brother, let's say, to the KC62, then that subwoofer does not have the uni-core system. It has separate magnets. Here's the one thing that I don't quite understand, because the KC62 is meant to save space. That's the whole point of the uni-core design. But I just told you guys that the SVS 3000 Micro does not have this technology. It does not have uni-core. It has a typical design, magnet in each driver, and it's about the same size. And it has one ace up its sleeve. Has anybody noticed the elephant in the room yet? The SVS 3000 Micro has 8-inch drivers, dual opposing, whereas the Kef KC62 has dual 6.5-inch drivers, dual opposing. They're almost the same size. They're basically the same size. So what space are we really saving? Now my question to you is, what do you value more? Do you value a special magnet, a new magnet inside the speaker, or do you value more displacement? You know, the subwoofer's ability to move more air and create more sound. Which one do you value? Personally, I think the SVS 3000 Micro, I think it makes better use of the space that it actually has. It's in a similar space as the Kef KC62. You've got two 8-inch drivers. They're basically edge to edge almost with the cabinet. So for the same space, you get 23% more diameter, which means you get 51% more area, more driver area. That should translate into considerably more bass than the Kef KC62. And that has a massive effect on the subwoofer's ability to be a good subwoofer as well. And I'll talk to you more about that later. Let's talk about the design. We're going to start with the rear end. Now I love a good rear end, so that's where we'll start. So Kef KC62, here is the design now. There's nothing fancy about it. I think it's a simple design. There's 5 preset EQs that you can choose from. you have a simple phase switch. So it's two settings, 0 and 180 degrees. Love that feature. It also has an LFE mode and a manual mode. Moving on to the SVS 3000 Micro, here is the rear of the 3000 Micro. Now this I really like, very clean, there's nothing there. Why is that? Is it because we can't control the subwoofer? No, it's not. We control it within the SVS app, and that's very important. Why is that? Because you can calibrate it from your seating position. Very important. If you want to calibrate a subwoofer using your ears, wouldn't you prefer sitting in the space that you're going to be in when you're listening to the subwoofer? It makes more sense from my perspective. And today everyone has apps for everything. So I think it is a massive plus, and it's also more precise, as I'll talk to you about later. Actually, let's talk about it now. Seriously guys, the amount of precision that we get in the app, in the SVS app, you can adjust different slopes for your low pass filter. You can adjust your phase anywhere between 0 and 180 degrees. So with the Kef KC62, we had 0 degrees, 180 degrees. And with the SVS app, you can choose anywhere in between. You can make it 67 degrees if you wanted to, so that means you're able to get even more out of the subwoofer. You're able to tune it exactly to your liking. So yeah, I think the SVS is going to be a subwoofer that perhaps people who cherish the setup process, for people who really want to be involved in that process and really want to be involved with their system and know everything that's going on in their system, I think the SVS will appeal more to those types of people. Whereas the Kef might appeal to people who just want to press the button, turn it on, select your EQ from one of 5 preset EQs and let the sub do its job. I think I would fit into the first one, the former. I would prefer the SVS myself. Now let's compare the amplification. Kef KC62, 1000 watts, 500 watts RMS per side. And it has DSP on board because obviously it's a small subwoofer. It needs that DSP really, because naturally that subwoofer would roll off and it wouldn't really sound like much of a subwoofer without DSP. It also has a feature called Smart Distortion Control. And let me read this to you now. So this is from the Kef website, okay? Smart Distortion Control technology, right? It's a sensorless, motional feedback system that measures the current in the voice coil, detecting and correcting any non-linear distortions. This reduces the interaction between signal, amplifier, and driver, decreasing the potential for distortion, which results in more accurate, less colored bass performance. Basically, I think I found that in the white paper, Kef KC62 white paper. When I first read that, I thought that sounds a bit like servo technology. If anyone knows what servo technology is in subwoofers, usually there's basically a accelerometer, which acts as a sensor. It measures basically the motion, what's going on in that cone, and does that match what the amplifier is sending that? And if it doesn't match that, then the amplifier knows, right, I need to adjust what I'm sending the cone because there's distortion. I need to fix that. That's basically what it's doing. The problem with that is that it can be a bit delayed because you have to wait for the cone to physically move and the accelerometer's there and it's feeding that information back slightly delayed. Okay. Now then I thought, well, this actually sounds similar to what Rhythmic do. If anyone knows Rhythmic subs, they have a similar system. It doesn't require an accelerometer. It has 2 coils instead. One of the coils acts as a sensor and it makes adjustments on the fly. They call it direct servo technology, and it's a Rhythmic patent. Okay, so that's the other approach I've heard, which works very, very well. That's why a lot of people really like Rhythmic subs. But Kef say that this is a sensorless sub. That's the thing that really made me think, oh, hold on a minute, what's that all about? And let me tell you what it means. So if you want to look this up yourself, look in the Kef KC62 white paper document. It's on the website. If you look somewhere on the website, you'll find it. So basically what it is the DSP, it has an inverted numerical model of the KC62 subwoofer. It has all the driver parameters, all that is on board. So it has all that data to play with. And what it does, if I want to put it simply for you, right? If you think about an algorithm or an AI, let's say, this AI has a virtual model of the KC62, and it knows, based on the parameters, the driver parameters and what's been loaded into it, it knows how it's going to act given a certain stimulus, right? So what it's doing is it knows if you were to play a piece of music, that AI, let's say that smart, whatever it's called, what is it called again? Smart distortion control, sorry. It's predicting what the subwoofer is going to do, and it's making adjustments on the fly. I have to say I was quite impressed by that. Now, what about SVS? Now, SVS, like most other subwoofer manufacturers, I don't think they don't do anything with servo technology. This was something that, I think it was something that was used more with Class AB style subwoofers, but once Class D came along, I think less and less people, fewer and fewer people started switching away from servo, because I think it adds more cost to the project and you get more gains from doing other stuff, right? But I looked on the SVS website just to double check and I couldn't see anything about that written there. And I thought to myself, why is SVS not doing that? Because there is clear competition in that field. Why aren't they doing that? And I think it's because SVS, their model is about putting the hardware into the subwoofer, putting good parts into the subwoofer, whereas Kef, from what I can see, a lot of their model is based around being smart, being creative, let the software do a better job of controlling that subwoofer. Do you know what I mean? It's a little bit more like that. So to me, yeah, I think this is like a game of economics. If anybody knows game theory, I think there's some of that going on behind the scenes. On the one hand, you have the option, if you're a subwoofer company, you can spend your money on research and development, and you can spend that money hopefully to get, you know, an extra 1 or 2% added benefit from your subwoofer, or maybe a bit more, I'm not quite sure. That's what it sounds like Kef is up to, and they're using this smart control, whatever it's called, to get a better performing subwoofer given the size, and they're using unconventional designs like the P-Flex surround as well. On the other hand, what you could do, you could spend less on the R&D relatively, and you could put good parts into the subwoofer. And, you know, these are tried and tested designs. They work, you know, established principles. To me, it's like similar to this analogy that I'm giving you now. Let's say you are a manufacturer of pianos. On the one hand, manufacturer A that wants to make a small piano, an upright piano, sound as much like a grand piano as possible. Whereas manufacturer B wants to make a small piano, but it is a grand piano, it's a baby grand piano. That's like the way that my brain kind of works that out and kind of sees a difference between these two companies. But there's one thing, both of these subwoofers take up the exact same size. So what's the real gain here? Could you not have put an 8-inch driver in there and you would have got some big gains back from that in terms of the bass performance, in terms of distortion as well, because a smaller driver is going to distort more trying to play big bass than a big one. So that's the thing I don't quite understand. And another thing, Kef are saying that they are reducing distortion from their new approach by 75%, which sounds really good, but 75% distortion at what volume? You know, in what conditions is it 75%? Up to 75%. And if distortion was at 1% and you reduced it by 75%, that would make it 0.25%. So would anyone really hear that difference? Because with subwoofers, a lot of people can't really tell distortion in subwoofers. That's why subwoofers often, they go up to about 10% distortion before they're considered bad. That's how it works psychoacoustically. So that's the thing that I was a bit puzzled about when I was reading this information. There is a lot of hype in this industry, and my perspective is proof is in the pudding, not, you know, who's made the pudding. Proof is in the pudding. That's the way I work anyway. Don't forget, there's also added benefit to Kef. By producing a subwoofer that costs £1,400, it costs more than other subwoofers, and you're only putting in 6.5-inch drivers. Now, 8-inch drivers you would assume cost more than 6.5-inch drivers. So you spend money on the R&D first. Over time, you recoup those costs that you've paid for R&D and you get it back over sales. Whereas my guess is with SVS, the unit price of the materials, let's say, is probably about the same or more than the Kef KC62. So more of the money that you're spending is going on the stuff that's inside it. That's just me speculating. Obviously, I've not seen the costings. This is just me, based on what I've seen, making a educated guess, let's say. Back to the amplifiers. So Kef KC62, 1000 watt. SVS 3000 micro has 800 watt amplifier, 400 times 2, similar to the Kef, and they say it's a sledge amplifier, but the thing is that's different. It's a amplifier with discrete Mosfet design. I couldn't see on the Kef website or in the spec sheet whether they're using a discrete Mosfet design or where they've decided maybe to go down the integrated circuit route. I'm not quite sure about that. It doesn't say. And I like the fact, personally, that SVS disclosed that, because it just gives you the feeling that, you know, they know what they're talking about. If anybody knows the answer to that question, what is in the Kef KC62 amplifier design? Is it an integrated circuit style design or discrete Mosfet design? Please let me know in the comments below. Looking at the drivers now, Kef say they have a new driver surround called P-Flex, which is inspired by origami. Apparently this has an effect on distortion. The next question is, what is the linear excursion of the driver? Again, I can't see the exact numbers on Kef's website, nor in the white paper document, I believe, from memory. But I did input some numbers into the boardline piston calculator online, and I came up with about 15, 16 X-max, millimeter X-max, which seems about right, but it could be a bit more. I'm not quite sure. I would prefer if you just wrote it down. But SVS, they disclose that on their website, 24 millimeter linear excursion, which I think is, you know, that's good. That's good performance. 51% more driver area as well. Now, one killer feature, I think, with the SVS, and I say this all the time, and I think it is the SVS app, because one, you can calibrate the subwoofer, you can set it all up from your seating position, but also you get a class leading DSP on board, 50 megahertz analog devices DSP. And what it means is that you're able to get that subwoofer set up perfectly to match your environment. And trust me, this is a massive factor when it comes to subwoofers, especially because bass is very problematic in a lot of rooms. And one thing I want to say actually is that Kef made a big deal about this KC62 subwoofer, about how it reduces distortion, 75% less distortion, blah de blah de blah. But why do people always forget this one important thing? And that is when the sound leaves the driver. So you've got the amplifier driver, you've minimized the distortion, fine. But once that sound leaves the driver, well then now it's interacting with your room. So you might not be hearing, you're not hearing the sound that came from that driver. It's changed in some way. It's been distorted. So with the SVS parametric equalization that you get from your phone, or on your phone, you can cancel some of that distortion out. You can retain the sound that came out of the subwoofer so it doesn't interact with your room and give you something different. And I think that should be paid attention to as well. You know, if you're trying to reduce distortion from the subwoofer, I think there should be, with that subwoofer, with the KC62, I think there should be some way of adjusting it and giving the user a better experience. That's my opinion. The last feature I really want to focus on is the bass extension, because I think a lot of people will probably get misled by this. The Kef website says this subwoofer, the KC62, can reach a genuine 11 Hertz, okay? Plus or minus 3 dB. SVS say 23 Hertz, plus or minus 3 dB. Now one of these has 8-inch drivers, the other one has 6.5-inch drivers, and they're both long throw. SVS is definitely long throw. I find it a bit funny. The SVS is not underpowered, it's still got 800 watts, it should be able to outperform that Kef KC62 on paper. Now here's the thing, dig a little deeper, have a look in the white paper document I believe it's in. The KC62 was measured that way in very strict conditions, in anechoic conditions with a 1 meter ground plane. Now, SVS they measured it a different way. And this is why they've got a radically different result. Okay, let me just see that. SVS say, yeah, it clearly says on the website, on the SVS website, 2 meter ground plane and quasi-anechoic conditions away from reflective structures. It's clearly written. Whereas I think with the Kef, it's not as clearly written. It will take some hunting to find that out. And I don't think a lot of customers are going to do that. They're just going to ignore that, I think. So with the SVS, we're getting a genuine 23 Hertz extension. Now, the test was conducted at 90 decibels reference, right? 90 decibels reference as well. So when you add room gain into that equation, you should achieve a decent sub-bass performance below 30 Hertz, I agree, at 90 decibels. I believe that to be more representative of a typical real-world condition than what Kef have done with the 1 meter anechoic conditions, and I don't remember seeing a reference decibel level when I looked at it. Could be wrong, but I don't remember seeing that. So that's my take on that. Next thing is the price. This bit is going to make me laugh. So, in the UK, the Kef KC62 retails for £1,400, which is probably more than what you guys, most of you guys, are spending on your speakers. Now, the KC62 is actually 56% more, according to my notes, in price than this SVS 3000 Micro, which is £899 in the UK. Now in the USA, it's an even better deal to go for the SVS 3000 Micro, because I believe there it's $799 versus $1,500 for the Kef KC62. And in the USA, SVS regularly do multi-buy discounts, like buy one, get the next one for a certain amount off. I've seen that loads of times when I've been going on the SVS USA website. So really that means you could buy 2 of these SVS 3000 Micros. One of them is probably, definitely, I think, already going to be more powerful than the one of the Kef KC62. So you could buy 2 of those. There's benefits of having 2 subwoofers in your system, if you didn't know. I'm sure a lot of you do know. There's a massive benefit of having 2 subwoofers. You could buy 2 for 1. It doesn't make sense for me to go for the Kef KC62. If I'm a consumer and I'm buying and I haven't got a demo room and I just want to buy a subwoofer online, yeah, of course you should demo these units if you can. But I know a lot of you can't do it. I know a lot of you won't do it because, I speak to a lot of people daily. They ask for my opinion on stuff because they don't want to go to the store, buy 2-3 subwoofers or whatever, take it home, test them all. They might be slightly out of their depth. They might not know exactly how to demo these subwoofers. So yeah, the spec sheet really does matter. What's going into these subwoofers really does matter. The build quality, it matters a lot. Okay, and I don't think you can really determine how a subwoofer is going to sound just by watching a YouTube reviewer turn the subs on and say, yeah, that one's good, that one's good. You've got different rooms and you've got different ears. You can't do that. In the USA, you guys get 45 days home demo, and it's willing as well. The SVS are willing to do that. They've advertised that to you. They're not expecting you to buy it. They want you to demo it first. And I think there's a big difference between that and a distance selling act in the UK that basically means that the seller wants me to keep the subwoofer. They don't want me to send that subwoofer back under any circumstances, but they're forced to accept it back if I ring them up and say I'm sending it back because I don't like it. If you do that enough times, the seller, they won't deal with you again. I just don't think it's the right way to do business. That's my opinion, especially with speakers, because a box, the seal of a box, you've unwrapped it. Does that mean the subwoofer is worth less? Well, yeah, technically it's worth less. Fine. If that's the way, keep open box units in your warehouse and send those out for demo. A lot of stores don't do this, and they keep going back to, oh, you broke the seal, so you will have to pay a 15% restocking fee. I see it all the time, guys. It does go on. Be very careful when you're getting into this business. And I think given the lockdowns that we've got at the moment, it's been a year now, I don't you think we've earned that right to be able to have a home demo without the expectation that, we have to return it in immaculate condition. I had one supplier tell me that I had to return it. I had to return this thing with no fingerprints. Otherwise, a restocking fee might be taken away. Fingerprints as well. To which I replied, are you going to sell gloves? Are you going to send gloves with the system? Because how am I meant to not touch it? It's just unbelievable, guys. Honestly, it's not good. Anyway, overall, my recommendation to you guys, try both. The KC62, if you want my opinion, which one would I buy? Given the circumstances, I wouldn't go for the Kef KC62. I think it's far too expensive. Fair enough, there might be gains from these new technologies that Kef have employed, but you can't transform a 6.5-inch driver into something that's bigger. You can't do it. You can probably improve things by percentage points, but release the data. Tell me exactly how much better it is. Do a large peer-reviewed study where everyone said that this subwoofer was better and it's scientifically proven. I don't believe that's there. So what I would do, I would buy the SVS 3000 Micro. That would be the one my brain tells me to get. You don't have to follow me. You can do what you like. Home demo them both. Any specific questions, put them down below. And as usual, guys, smash like, smash subscribe. I know it's been a long video, but I'll see you next time.